Welcome to episode
88
of the Road is Dead podcast. I am your host, Rob Curtis. I am joined here in the studio with
Leah, Sanda.
Out in Colorado, we have
Mike Friedman.
And joining us for the first time on video out in California now, instead of Iceland, we have Mr.
Bill Barnes.
Looking good,
Welcome, Bill. Nice to see you. Nice to have you on the podcast again. And on video for the first time. Mike got a chance to actually look at you for the first time a few minutes ago.
Beautiful.
Nice to see you in clothes, Bill.
What does that mean?
I mean, other than cycling kit. Not to say that you didn't wear other clothes, I guess. Never mind. Bill and I just rode bikes together in Arizona for a couple weeks.
Oh yeah.
Ago,
so it's not his tan that he's turning red. He's actually tan.
Yeah. Well, if you can call that pinkness on his skin tan, yeah.
What part
I
of his
burned
skin
in
are we talking about?
30 seconds. It was actually pretty amazing. I put on sunblock and then I got completely sunburned so much that I went and showed everybody at camp and they were all very impressed.
You and my son Connor are of the same breed.
Are you actually? You are a redhead, aren't you?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm a no-head, see?
I know. I've never really seen hair, I guess.
The beard grows in red. The hair grows in blonde. But
yeah.
What little hair it does grow in still. So.
Yeah, not much, huh?
No.
I love it. You look like you're 60, right? But you're like, what, 25?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So anyway, you guys getting outside. You went out. You guys did the camp out in Arizona. And I think you eventually brought some heat back this direction because we're sitting here in Cimet Central up in the top level, and no AC has been turned on. It's been over 80 degrees for the last 2 days.
It's
so
glorious.
If you see a little moisture on the forehead here, I want to apologize, but
this is beautiful. I want it to stay like this forever and
yeah,
ever.
Agreed.
Not me.
Yes.
Agreed. I'm much more of a heat person.
It's warmer here than it was the entire week at Arizona. I actually finally got a heat acclimation thing on my Garmin after my ride yesterday. I got nothing in Tucson.
I get heat acclimation things on my Garmin if I walk to my car.
From your body, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, basically because I'm grossly out of shape. That was a joke. So anyway,
because he's so hot.
Right? Yeah, sure. But with the nicer weather, getting outside more, I find I'm actually getting outside on the bike. Kind of hard for me to find motivation always, but I think the warmer weather gives me a little bit more motivation to get out there and get on the bike. I know, Bill, you were saying you're slightly more motivated now to get on the bike. Is that just for going
definitely.
to camp or?
Camp helped. Being around my friends again, who I hadn't seen in a long time, getting a ride with people I hadn't ridden with in literal years was nice. But just being in nice weather and kind of like realizing that no matter how out of shape I was, I still had a little bit of the try-hard climber mentality in my brain. Was pretty nice.
Dude, I was so impressed. The way you climbed Mount Lemmon, considering how little you have been on the bike for these last few years, I was just kind of blown away. That's pretty impressive. You are just like, you obviously either naturally like that pain or you're just really good at it, or a combination of both. But kudos.
I think it's stubbornness, more or less. Just like hating to fail at something more than anything else, but no, it was fantastic for me. It kind of woke up my legs when I say legs, like my, I don't know, spiritual legs a little bit. Like as soon as I started going hard, I felt really great, and I just wanted to keep doing that. And it's been a few years since I felt like that, and tried to keep it going since I've been home. I've been doing a lot of mountain biking and just using every excuse I can to jump on the bike. So, yeah, so far I've been making good on my New Year's resolution to find my bike again.
Did you guys get unburied from the snow?
We did. We have zero snow in our yard now. There's still some piled up at the grocery store parking lot, but generally speaking, it's all gone.
Nice.
So when you say you lost, or that your New Year's resolution, I can relate to this a little bit, but when you say to regain it again, what do you mean?
After I stopped feeling like I was competitive, when I kind of just, I don't know, it was a slow burn, to be honest. Like I didn't just wake up one day and say like, okay, I quit bike racing. It's dumb. I'm not going to be good at it. It was a gradual, like I started doing worse and worse, and I was training less, and it's sort of a negative feedback loop a little bit. Like when you're not getting rewarded for it, you want to put less effort into it, etc. And it kind of just, it spiraled and spiraled down, and it got to the point when we moved to Iceland, I was just like, well, I'm glad, and frankly, like this might sound bad saying it, but like I was just glad I wasn't around my cycling friends anymore, because I didn't have to feel bad about the fact that I didn't want to ride anymore. Like I didn't have to feel shame about it because I wasn't around the people who, I met and knew from cycling. So yeah, so I spent a couple of years out there, and I mean, Iceland was fantastic. And I did do some hard riding out there too, just few and far between. But no, coming back, like, and kind of just shrugging off that sense that I needed to be like training as hard as I could and riding as hard as I could all the time, has made me really enjoy my bicycle again a lot. So
I can completely relate to this. I when I retired, I pretty much hung up the wheels, and I wasn't focused on riding on a regular basis. And I think it's important to have a break. It can be as long as you need or want, but it's sometimes important to have that break where you hit reset. And then, when you come back to it, the emotionality and what it makes you feel and think about can have quite a different effect on you versus when you're doing it all the time and, maybe burnt out on the effort or, what it takes to get out there for a ride, or the time that it takes, or the feeling that it feels like when you're out of shape and getting hammered by everyone else who's fit. I can completely relate to that, especially coming from, former professional cycling, where I was, even the group rides now, people expect you to be this unbelievable strong person when you're just, you're out of shape. It's not the same.
Yeah, I've spent my entire life with people expecting me to be, totally fast and, Sorry, that was me trying to find something relatable. I got nothing.
I think I've gone through a number of phases with my cycling and, just being super serious, and then having some years where I'm just like, yeah, screw it. I'm just going to ride my bike. And then after a year or two of consistently getting dropped from everything, it's like, all right, I don't like this anymore. I'm going to do something about it. And then I get super motivated to start training again, and I'll do that until I'm at a point now where I don't put any expectations attached to anything. I could decide tomorrow to hang it up, and that's okay. But at the moment, I just roll with it every day that it's feeling good and I'm motivated. I don't know where that comes from, other than just not wanting to suck.
Yeah, that fear is definitely a huge motivator. I know.
I've always found it takes about 3 days.
To your point,
whether I'm doing a diet,
I take a break. I take a break every December, and I don't know what it is, but I've got to take time off in the winter, and it's usually when most people are really focusing on like training and getting in shape for the next season, and it's like the last thing I want to do. And what I find though is that when I do that, I'm actually kind of motivated when I get back on the bike in the spring, and I want to go out and I want to ride. If I ride the trainer all the way through the winter, I'm burnt out. And I always used to say, you listen to people come and go from racing, and inevitably there would be somebody who would try to put together some super team, for the next year late in the season, and they'd start talking about, all the training they're going to do, and everyone's motivated and they're training like crazy, and they're pushing each other on, and they can't wait to come out and just tear everything up this next year. They are inevitably burned out by the first race of the year. They go out, they show up, and half of them don't show up. The ones that do show up put in a so-so showing, and then it just doesn't gel, and then people get frustrated and they give up and they move on. It's to me, I know enough about me. I think I don't have the motivation to keep it going through the winter. If I keep on the bike and on the trainer, then the last thing I want to do is get on a bike in the spring. But as it is right now, if I get on the trainer like once a week or whatever, that's not too much, and I'm not doing targeted training, so I still have the motivation. So like right now, I got out a couple times in the last few days. I actually have, I think, like 80 miles this week, which is like amazing. And there's like 3 more days left or something. So, I'm finding some motivation. But what do you guys, Bill, you're not going to race though this year, are you?
I'm going to do a little bit. It's probably going to be mostly mountain biking. Just by nature, where we live, there's mountain biking races constantly. And there's also a nice little mountain bike trail that I can literally jump on my mountain bike and ride to without feeling annoyed that I'm riding my mountain bike on pavement for more than 5 minutes. So that's pretty awesome. So I can kind of jump on the trails any morning I feel like it. And it's also a little bit kind of, it's challenging for me because the mountain bike races here are not what they were in the Midwest. In Chicago we had wars and, there's Palos Meltdown or whatever, but they're all basically just flat, smooth cross-country rides. And here, it's kind of interesting because my fitness is not the limiter here. It's the raw lack of skill that I have in mountain biking. So to me, that's kind of fun that I could jump into something while improving my fitness because I still like riding my bike, still like being in shape, but it won't just be the fact that I'm out of shape that's causing me to not place well. I'll be out of shape and not skilled enough that's causing me to not place well. And so I'll be able to move up in at least one of those categories very quickly, I think.
You'd hope, yeah.
So are you specifically working on skill stuff? Is other than just riding more and trying to think about it? Do you study videos or look at skills stuff pertinent to the area you're riding in?
I have a little bit, but honestly, I have a little bit of a secret weapon. My next door neighbor is a 16-year-old who is a pretty serious contender for the Enduro State Championships. Not in the juniors category, in the Cat 1 expert. They call it expert, right? Expert category in mountain biking. He's really good. When I first met him, I was like, oh, I hadn't met your wife. He's like, oh no, that's my mom. And it just, it was kind of funny because he's so ripped and so in shape. I thought he was way older than he was. But we got to talking about mountain biking, and he wants to show me all these cool enduro places and all these downhill places. And so I have somebody that wants to practice and train with me next door to me. And he saw Jessica's bike and he was like, we're all going enduro riding. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess.
So that's every 16-year-old's goal in life. Mom is the wife.
Yep.
I learned so much skill-wise by just riding behind somebody who was good on the mountain bike. That was huge, and just trying to emulate what they do. And
it's a nice way of saying you got dropped.
And not necessarily.
You can learn a lot by watching, for sure. The demonstration and following into the line and picking the technique out is pretty valuable.
Yeah. I'm pretty good at emulating what somebody else does in terms of how their body moves and their body position and what they do with their bike, and I can usually kind of replicate that. And I will watch videos a lot too on technique stuff and drops and manuals and all this stuff, mountain bike stuff, and kind of put that into place when I'm out on the trail. That's fun. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I used to think that too. Actually, speaking of Tucson, while we were there, we ran into Nathan Schneeberger.
Yeah.
And his lovely wife. But I was mountain biking with him one time, and I had that same feeling, I can just follow his lines, he's a really good mountain biker. And so it turns out following his lines got me my ribs broken. But
oh no.
So sometimes trying to follow what people in front of you do is not necessarily the best idea.
You got to know your limits, that's for sure. And sometimes you just have an accident. But
No, that was
know.
me being dumb, but yeah,
I have a hard enough
and him
time
being a lot better.
following him when we're doing a group ride, and he takes a pole. Man, he'll drop 90% of us pretty quickly. But for those that don't know, Nathan Schneeberger, you may know him better as Snowy Mountain Photography. Takes a lot of photos for a lot of pro races in the U.S. and a lot of teams.
And Morley.
And Morley, yep.
Morley ran support for us on our Mount Lemmon Day and was absolutely fabulous.
Yep.
And Nathan was riding up Mount Lemmon with one of the Project Echelon guys. So
We've had Nathan on the podcast.
did we?
Yeah, but it'd be
Long
many
time
years ago. Yeah. Yeah, I think he was on at one point. He walked in and said, "Hey, I'd like to be on it."
Do not let the hat and reflective vest fool you. He is an absolute beast when he gets behind a bicycle.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
I've always found it takes about 3 days to really stay on top of like a routine. 3 days, whether it's on a diet or riding or whatever habit you're trying to like establish. 3 days is a window where it's like, okay, I don't want to break this habit. I'm 3 days in. I want to keep it going. And then you start seeing changes relatively quick, especially if you're focused on your diet and riding and variations. You can see change fairly quickly in your body. I mean, regarding the New Year's resolution, I took a photo against this black backdrop I have here just to see what I look like around Christmas time at 215 pounds. And I look like complete garbage. See, yeah, I didn't say the word shit. See, that's a New Year's resolution. I said garbage instead of shit.
Yeah,
Anyways, but the difference is pretty striking just 2 months in, how much I have changed. It's like 25 pounds of just, steady, just being consistent, getting out, not riding when I don't want to ride. I went back to Pittsburgh this past week. I ate whatever I wanted when I was home. Now I'm back on the regime again. You have to give yourself a break, come back into it, and it's like ebb and flow. As long as you're consistent, though, you'll see changes.
I feel attacked.
Hey, Rob, I mean, honestly, dude,
You said 215, so I feel attacked.
Oh, why do you feel attacked?
Because I'm 215.
You weigh 215 pounds?
Yes. Dude, I used to weigh 250.
That's pretty good, dude.
Dude, sure. Okay.
Well, but when is that from? Like 250, how long ago?
God, how many years was that? 3 years? 4 years? It was just before the pandemic, I want to say.
You weighed 215. I weighed as much as you did at Christmas time. And I don't mean that to be offensive.
It's only offensive if you're implying that
he lost a lot of weight during the pandemic because they just stopped going out to eat.
It wasn't just that. I was getting on my bike again, just trying to ride. When I got up to 250, basically my doctor it said, we can beat around the bush all we want, but you're type 2. You're going to end up full-blown type 2 diabetic if you keep doing this. You got to lose weight. And while that in and of itself wasn't a primary motivator, it was the combination of that, the reality that I wanted to ride my bike and feel good. And I had too many years of not feeling good linked together. And so I just started riding more. And whenever I saw anybody right after the pandemic, they were like, "Oh my God, you've lost a lot of weight." And I didn't notice it because it came off slowly over time. But, I've been as low as 208, I think. I'm at 215, go up to 220, if I have a bad week or two. But I'm up and down. If I string quite a few days of riding in together, I'm below 210 again. But it would be nice to be, obviously. I go fast when I'm 165 to 168, so I got a bit of work to do, That or I got to decide I don't want to be fast ever again.
You could just go enjoy the ride and then take it.
Which is what I've been doing. Yeah.
I mean, the exercise component alone, where you're just blowing, think about how fast your heart rate's pumping, even at 120 beats per minute, which isn't that high. How fast is that pushing the fluids through your body? Your metabolism is elevated, your heart rate's elevated, you're sweating, you're pushing all the toxins out of your body.
And post-COVID, after I do a ride, my heart rate will stay in the 130 to 140 range for hours after my ride.
What?
It slowly comes down, yeah. It takes like 2 hours for it to come down.
So you're sitting there after your ride and it's pumping at 130 beats per minute.
About 130, yeah. 120, 130.
That's
without
crazy.
doing anything. And then I noticed for the rest of the day now, after like a longer ride, for the rest of the day, it'll stay up around 99 to 100. In my normal, just like sitting here, it should be like 55, 60 in that range. Right now it's 85 because I'm talking, I'm sweating and everything else. But normally it would be, you know, a lot lower than that sitting around. But if I ride, it stays elevated for the rest of the day.
Huh. It seems awfully elevated.
If I eat something, it'll elevate right after I eat. Blood sugar will cause it to take off and hang up there for a while. So I get a lot of excess burning of calories, whether I want it or not.
How do you feel at 130, 140 beats per minute when you're just doing regular stuff?
I would not notice it if I didn't have a heart rate monitor on.
I
feel
awfully high.
I feel revved up, but then like I'll walk around, I'll be fine. I was walking around the other day with Tim was here, and I was fine, felt fine. Walked up the stairs to grab something to drink, and I hit 140 just walking up the stairs.
Dang.
I went over and I grabbed something to drink, drank like half a cup. It dropped to like 80, and then went up the stairs again. It was fine. It was just dehydration. Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't set in that fast. It doesn't set in that fast. You don't just drink and all of a sudden you're hydrated.
No, I know, but within the hour, you know, it ends up kicking in.
What's your max heart rate? I know we're on different subjects here, but what's your max heart rate when you're riding?
High 180s, mid 180s, depending on the year. When I'm really out of shape, maybe 182. When I started coming back last few years, I'd say 187. I saw at least once or twice a year.
You ever had a stress test done?
Really pushing.
When you're exercising, you see what your EKG is reading at, but you know when you're under duress and when you're at
rest.
rest.
Go to doctors.
No, I don't want to admit my mortality.
I have actually done all of that because I was concerned with mine because I have a really high max heart rate, and I was worried like, am I pushing like heart attack levels? So
what are you at? What are you at, Bill? When you say heart?
When I was climbing Mount Lemon, I was hitting 205.
How heavy are you? What's your weight?
I'm just around 200 pounds now and about 6 foot. At 44 years old, I feel like that's still a little high for the heart rate.
It's pretty high. I mean, it could be a number of different signs for different things, but yeah, I mean,
yeah. But no, I went to the doctor. They like put me on the treadmill and kept ramping it up higher and higher and steeper, and did the EKG after that, and they were like, "No, you're just got a great heart. You're healthy."
They give you an indication what your stroke volume is like what the volume of each beat puts out.
Yeah, there's a lot of numbers there, but I don't remember paying attention. I just want to know if I could keep doing time trials, honestly. Without
having a heart attack. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting when you think about it, that heart, that pump, you know, it's such a vital, I mean, one, it's a muscle and it can be trained, but two, you're right to be, you know, it is fearful. You see riders, whatever reasons, you know, like they have issues when they're racing or literally have a heart attack after racing. So I think it's wise to check on that stuff, especially if you feel off. Rob, you should go get checked out. What are you afraid of?
I don't necessarily feel off. It's the elevated for long durations. It was really bad right after I had COVID, and then it got better. And now it's kind of crept back up again. I think it's just I wasn't riding as much. So when I get back in, it starts to come down a little bit quicker. We had a rider on our team that had a heart attack while riding. And
there you go.
There was, I believe, he was found very quickly. And I don't know if it was a doctor that found them or if it just somebody that got an ambulance to him very quickly. But he's recovered and he's riding again now. So, you know, it's one of those things. I don't have any heart-related issues in my family on either side for the most part. So it's all cancer. I hate to say it, but so I know the mode through which I will die. It's just a matter of what type and when. Hey, that's a great topic to talk about.
Well,
no, thank you.
I mean, it's a reality for all of us.
Yeah,
you know, it's part of the motivational factor too. You can't control that. You can only make your choices. That's it. You don't know when it's going to happen. It could happen. It could be an accident. It could be, you know, who knows, you know. It could be a car. It could be who knows.
That's the thing with cars. I got to say, and I've mentioned it on here before, but as I'm getting older, I thought I would have an easier time with cars on the road, just being like, well, whatever. I've been around this forever. It's bothering me more now than it
Same.
ever has, and it's really kind of bugging me a lot now, to the point where Leah can back this up. But we had our first group ride on Tuesday, and we're out in Barrington Hills, an area around here where the cars are just horrible usually. And I changed the course this year so that we don't have to cross a couple major crossings, and we're not as exposed to cars. And I got to say, I was really apprehensive about going out there. I did not want to do the first
That
ride
whole
of the year.
afternoon, Rob's like, I don't feel so good. I feel kind of sick. I'm not sure if I should go on the ride. And I'm rolling my eyes. I'm like, you do this every fucking week. You realize that every single week before the ride.
I do. I hate going on rides. I hate the prep for the ride. If it's with other people, if it's an alone thing, I guess I don't have a problem with it. But when it's with other people, it's the prep, the timing, and the worrying about getting there on time, not being the person that holds up the ride, that kind of thing. All of that kind of just bugs me. And then you throw cars on there and having to be out on the roads. I mean, all I've been riding is gravel or off-road or, on a bike path or cyclocross, for months and months and months if I've been on the bike or on my trainer, So then get back out there and have to contest with the cars after they have not been, used to seeing riders. And we've had, two pretty accomplished riders that were struck and killed in California within the last week. And there was 1 or 2 deaths here in Chicago. It's a constant thing now where we're reading about it. And if you step back and you take a look at it and you look at just the pure statistics, it's still a very low occurrence. The somebody actually having a life-changing event while on the bike is still extremely low compared to the number of times that people actually ride and the number of riders that are out there. I would almost venture to say that you have a lower possibility of having that happen than ending up in a car wreck while driving your car. But I don't have any data to back that up. And we all know it can happen at any point in time. I just want to go on record as saying if I ever get hit and taken out, turn my death into something, like yell at people.
This is exactly why I wear a mirror when I ride now, with no shame. I love the mirror. It's awesome. This is exactly why I want to do the Garmin, the radar has the camera, because it's nice to have an accident report should you have an accident, and to know that there are cars coming in. This is also why I'm always defensive. I always ride defensively. It's always in the back of my head. Like I'm always either take the lane or I'm assertive in my movements, or I'm checking over my shoulder or using my mirror. I'm always double checking before I make a maneuver. And
I got a really bad habit of not taking the lane. I don't know what it is with me, but I will not do it. And I get squeamish when other people do when I'm with them.
It depends on the situation. It depends on the situation, what the shoulder looks
Yeah.
like and what the road up ahead looks like and the traffic conditions look like. You can't, I think I mentioned this before in another podcast. They have this new law passed here where you can stop at a red light, and if it's clear, you can go as a cyclist just to clear the intersection. In theory, it seems like it works because you get out of the intersection. The only downside with that is that most car drivers don't know about that law. So then you're still the
of course
asshole.
not. Yeah.
You'll
always be.
And,
the thing is, I think you got to get comfortable with the realization that no matter what you do, most drivers will view your actions as being an asshole.
Well, yeah, and it also
whether
really
they're
depends.
legal, whether they're right, whether they're safe, whether you truly made a mistake or not, your actions will always be viewed as the asshole actions. You can do no right. If you guys ever notice you roll up to a stop sign and you're doing the right thing, you're slow rolling up to it, you're coming to a complete stop, you're putting your foot down, whatever. And in the meantime, you've got 2 cars that have been sitting there parked at the same intersection, and then they're all mad at you and like waving because they want you to go through. And it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If I follow the laws, everybody hates me. If I don't follow the laws, everybody hates me. Here's the thing: I'm going to ride the way that I'm going to ride, and I'm going to put myself I'm going to try to avoid as many risky situations as I possibly can. That's all I can do, I figure.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's tough. You also wind up in situations like that where you may have one driver who wants to be friendly and let you go, but you're at a four-way stop and the other 2 or 3 people don't want to be friendly. They just are annoyed that you're there. So then you're like, no, I'm just going to do the thing I'm supposed to do. And then that driver gets annoyed. But if you'd have just jumped the gun like they wanted, then the other 3 might get annoyed. It's hard.
It was fun watching Julie start to ride on longer rides with me, my wife. And as we would get to intersections, she started to gain an appreciation for how cars act. She's like, they don't get it. They're stopped and they're like waving you on. And it's like they have no idea there's cars coming from other directions. Yeah, I know. She goes, and then they get all mad. It's like, you just got to ignore it. Do what's right.
The biggest difference I've found for me, riding here and in Arizona when we were there, the way I ride, is that cars with driver's side window tint are a whole different ballgame to me. I'm so used to riding in Illinois where that wasn't ever a thing. They're basically outlawed in Illinois. Mm-hmm. So, you could always roll up and make eye contact with somebody. Yeah, I know, even though it's illegal. But you could always roll up and make eye contact with somebody and they see you. And you make smaller micro decisions based on that. But when every car you roll up to is a black wall, it kind of changes the way you think about things a little bit.
Yeah.
And,
people are also very impatient. They don't give you time. They either, they're in a car with a gas pedal. You're on a bike, with the pedal. So it's like, there's very little patience for you to get out of the way or for them to pass you, to wait for it's safe to pass you. And they have to get around you. It's kind of, it is interesting. And then also the hate that comes with it. And someone mentioned this before, you see a social media post where, someone has been hit by a car or, some incident involving a car, and the comments are absolutely abhorrent, in terms of what people actually say about other people. You're not looked at as a human. It's like you deserve it because you're on the road, or all the other comments that are unbelievable.
Yeah, I saw something pointed out today on Twitter, and it's about the reporting of these incidents. The reporting is always from a car-centric point of view, and it's always, they struck the car with their bicycle. It's like that doesn't happen, guys.
Well, it doesn't happen. Not every rider's got good control.
But it doesn't. But it doesn't happen. And even in these cases, they were struck from behind. It's car strikes bicycle. And
not person strikes bicyclist. Not the driver.
Right. I mean, there's a driver that's piloting this vehicle and is responsible for this deadly weapon. And I drive. I'm not anti-car, not anti-driver. I get it. And it's the problem, I think, always stems from the fact that most people that are looking at these incidents, if they aren't cyclists, they always identify with the driver. They always go, that could happen to me someday. I could have some cyclist I've seen them fly through stop signs. I could have one materialize out of thin air right in front of me, and I don't want to have to go to jail. I don't want to have to be held responsible for their death. So, you know what? Those cyclists are always doing stupid things, and they're putting themselves at risk. They're adults. They should just drive a car. Why are they on a bike anyway? They're never going to be those Lance Armstrongs, I mean, it's the same arguments over and over and over. Now, I mean, it's obviously all wasted on us because we know, and we're riding. We're always going to ride, in a way that we feel we have to. But I do ride with a radar. I do have a radar, and I got to say, if you do not have a radar and you've been thinking about getting one, I can highly recommend getting them. They do give me much more peace of mind.
But, that is only one aspect. I agree. I am totally agreement. But it is only one aspect, like rolling up to an intersection and you came off of a downhill, so you're in a big gear, but you can't get out of the intersection fast enough. It's like simple things, like just changing your gear so you can get off the line quicker if you need to, or, like reading the situation. I mean, so many cyclists I see, you come up to a red light and they'll roll up right along the white line to get to the front. Just sit in traffic. Yeah. I mean, what's the rush? We're stopped. What's the point of trying to roll through it? I mean, it's actually better fitness to stop and reaccelerate. That's what
so
you
many
said
people
that.
are so against that, and it's because it's an old Wayneism. Wayne Simon, he would be like, he would yell at people if we
He's
were out on a
100%
ride.
right. He's 100% right.
He's like, you get a better workout if you stop and reaccelerate, guys. I don't know why you're so scared of stopping. And to this day, even on our own ride, we still have people on Tuesday night, first stop sign. Guys are like running through it. Half of us are stopping. And it's just like, and you tell them, and they go, oh, yeah, okay. And still don't do it. It's, well, there's no one around. There's this. I'm done. I don't want any excuses. I mean, it's a stop sign. Come to a stop. Put your foot down. Start out again. It gives me a chance to catch up.
Yeah, and then when you roll off,
also-
don't gap them off. Roll off slow. Don't just hit the gas because it's an accordion effect. So you elongate it super long instead of just taking off slow, making sure everyone gets through, and then you can just ramp up the speed.
Dude,
Many cyclists
over the
don't know how to do
years,
that.
we have had riders that go on that ride specifically rolling off quick or cutting through a crossing when there's only a tiny gap because they think it's the only way that they can, quote unquote, win the group ride. And I understand that expression should trigger a lot of people. There is no such thing as winning a group ride. So if you're the one that walks around going, oh, well, I won the group ride, you need to look inside and question everything about your existence.
You said something a little while ago, Rob, that it takes you forever to get ready for your ride. In terms of, I'm going to go back to the motivation thing for a moment. There is this French term, and I'm going to totally booger this up, but I think it's called mise à place, where it means everything has its place, right? So your socks go where your socks are, your shorts go where your shorts are, your jerseys, you either hang them up or whatever, Like if it takes you 20 minutes, half an hour to get out the door, your shit's not organized enough to just be. It's about being quick and efficient, right?
Mike's never been here before.
Well, this is something I've been changing, over time. Is like organization. My I don't want to be invited for a ride or have to get out the door for a ride, and then be stressed about trying to find my Garmin or my Garmin's not charged or I can't find my knee warmers or I can't find the other matching sock. Like. This is something I can control. This is a behavior that I can control. And so I'm going to control that until I actually form a habit where everything has its place. And that goes, for taxes and receipts and, making my bed.
This is group ride day with Rob. He walks in, he's got this big bag and things are flying. He's like, Jen, I can't find me this. Oh, damn it, I left it at home. And things are flying. And
I wish I could say something in my defense. I got nothing.
Remember when you used to say that you used to keep all your stuff organized in an actual plastic drawer set in the back of your car that everything was there? What happened with that? What happened to that, Rob?
Oh, okay, hold on. That's my classic phrase. Hold on. First of all, I'm getting better. Number one. Number two, I have read all sorts of studies that show that the way that I approach things and the way that I leave things around is obviously I apparently have ADD and have never been diagnosed. And secondly, it's apparently a sign of a genius. So I'm going with that one. Okay. I worked in lean manufacturing. So, I spent many years teaching people about the waste involved with not putting things back in their place and having a place for everything. And eliminating things that you don't need and identifying them and eliminating the waste and doing the job and repetitiveness and everything else. I understand. I get the theory. Okay. I used to have a dresser in the back of my car and it had everything organized. It just got in the way too much.
What do you need a dresser for? Just put a bag back there.
It was a 3-drawer thing. Now I have one of our gear bags, which is, who makes that? Pedal Industries?
Yeah.
Pedal Industries. It's a gear bag. It's the biggest one that they make. And it's got 4 zippers on top. It's 4 areas on top. And then it's got a place for your helmet, a place for your shoes, a place for dirty clothes on the back end. She says this, but I got to tell you, I've got that bag and it's got every piece of clothing that I need in it. It's got, heart rate strap. It's got gloves, booties, whatever. It's got nutrition in it. It's got everything. I actually don't have a problem getting dressed and finding all that gear. It's way more organized than even the dresser was because I can separate it even more. So that works well. The issue that I usually have a problem with is it's like, okay, it's the first group ride of the year. My road bike, so to speak, is on the trainer. Oh, I got to pull out the trainer. Oh, crap, I haven't had wheels on it in how many months? I got to go inflate. Oh, sealant's dried up. I got to go add that in there. Wait, where's the is this cassette the right cassette? Why is it not? Oh, wait, no, I should probably lube my chain. Are my brakes working? I haven't tried those. And it's all that stuff that piles up. Once the bike is in the car, my car is set up in such a way. I have a Honda Element, gutted, and there's nothing in it except for the whole back section and the front two seats. I can roll a bike right into it. I have my gear bag in the back. I currently have 3 sets of shoes right on the tailgate. And so it's like, it doesn't matter what bike I put on it. I can just go ride whatever. Once I get everything set, then yeah, it's a drive to wherever I need to go and pull it out and ride. And yes, I have to drive to where I need to go to get out and ride because this is Chicago-ish land area, and you can't get from point A to point B on a bike without, taking your life into your own hands multiple times. But so I suck. I get it. I'm going to get some more water. You guys keep talking.
No, nobody said you suck, Rob.
No. It's it's the beginning of the season. First group rides are starting, and just getting everything organized takes a little while. So how's your riding going, Mike?
Really, really well. I have also fallen in love with my bicycle, and I enjoy getting out there and riding, even if it's only 15 miles. Sometimes it's 40 miles, sometimes it's 70 miles. It really depends on time. But I have been pretty consistent this year, more than I have been since I pretty much retired. And I was back in Pittsburgh for a week and was training at sea level with my brother David, who is racing this year. And it was a lot of fun to be fit enough to be able to go and push down some serious watts with him and engage with him and feel like I was, not suffering the entire time. The only reason I was suffering is because I was taking, longer poles or going just as hard as he was, brother to brother, showing who's best.
Who were you riding with?
My brother David.
Oh, nice. How's he doing?
He's doing really well. He had in Pittsburgh, where I grew up in Pittsburgh, they just started yesterday, Wednesday. They have a weekly race series down at the Oval, they call it, Allegheny Cycling Association. They have every Wednesday, points start in a couple weeks, and he ended up third yesterday. And the local race scene, if you have a local race scene, you can get a lot of advantage in terms of both in motivation, because it can be a goal, but also in terms of the camaraderie that you all speak of, but also just the event to aim for weekly, right? Where you have this goal. It doesn't have to be on the national racing calendar or some big to-do race. It can just be the weekly race series. And I don't know how many communities have weekly race series. Pittsburgh was a pretty cool, people probably don't think of Pittsburgh as like a huge cycling centric city, but there is quite a cycling culture there. And, so I guess what I'm saying is find a local race if you want to race, and see if you don't have a local race, see how you can start one.
It's becoming harder and harder and harder, definitely, to find a local race. You were talking about, we had a meeting last night. It was our monthly meeting for the Illinois Cycling Association, which is the local association for Illinois, of which I am currently the president, I guess. Bill, you've been a past president, so, you're familiar with it. We had to discuss the fact that not only the big thing was there are no officials left. We were going over the fact that there's like 3-4 races in the Indiana, Kentucky area. Indiana and Kentucky are their own local association combined. That's called INKY, INKY. And there are 2 officials for the state that are active. So any race that happens in Indiana or Kentucky, those 2 officials have to go to. Apparently they have an official coming over from Ohio to help out. We have a handful of officials, and it's getting to be a smaller handful every year. But luckily, we don't have any races, so we don't really have to worry about that. We had a long-standing local crit that we've talked about many times on this podcast. Maybe not even just this crit, but I know I've told stories about it. But the one that led into it was Sherman Park back on Triple X, and they've been holding the Lincoln Park criterium for many years. Bill, you were involved with putting it on at some point, weren't you?
Yeah, the first couple of years we did it, Rick and I put it on. Rick LaCour was another Triple X teammate. He was the official race director, but yeah.
I actually had
honestly, like a lot of Triple X also. There's a lot of people very involved on that team that really want to see local bike racing happen.
Yeah.
That make a lot of effort, even if their names aren't on the paper as the ones who are putting things on. But yeah, no, I would say it's a last ditch effort in my words, which may not be the agreement of everybody. It was a last ditch effort to find a venue in the city of Chicago that was still criterium worthy after Sherman Park was no longer an option.
Yeah. Yeah.
Finding a parking lot, finding something that's suitable for a racing meet.
Well, this wasn't a parking lot. This was on basically right on the lake, Montrose Beach, but back in on the roads right around there. I have popping up in my memories on Facebook today. I've got a bunch of pictures of me announcing out there, and they were 10, 11 years old. And I even have hey, thanks to Rick, for, asking me to come announce and all that kind of stuff. But so this year, apparently they pulled the permits. I don't know the details, and I don't want to go into the details, but I was roughly told that the venue became unviable for the week that they were going to do it. Something like the city screwed up, or it was double booked, or something along those lines. And
yeah, it's been double booked every year.
Yeah,
honestly, like we always had to like make a deal with a running club that was running a running race, and yeah, that was years. I mean, that was 10 years ago at this point. So,
and then
or 8, whatever it is.
To push it back or change the date, they ended up on the same date as, other events in the area, and they just kind of did we're not going to do it this year. We're going to try to recollect and look for another location. Look at putting something else on. So we lost that race. We've had one criterium so far this year. That was at Autobahn, put on by South Chicago. And then we do not have, to the best of my knowledge, we do not have another criterium in the state until Cobb Park in July. That is, pardon me, insane.
Yeah.
To even consider that the center of racing that we've always seen ourselves to be has no criteriums even until July. There is, I know Triple X is still going to run their weekly training crits in LaBaugh Woods. Not sure when those start up, but they will be doing that. I know that we have looked around. We've tried to change venues. We asked a new venue and just got point blank turned down. What we're finding is that, I've covered it here, but our cost tripled during the pandemic. Our attendance dropped. And even though it came up slightly from where it was in like 2019, it's still so low that with the increased costs that a venue is charging now, it's like the cost to enter a criterium has to at least double just to make sure that whoever's putting it on doesn't lose a ton of money. And Lincoln Park, Triple X, as you know, was losing a ton of money putting on that race every year. It's just part of they get dues from their members, and they just dump the money on it, just because they wanted to make sure that a race happened. I mean, is that pretty much right, Bill? Or
yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody Triple X listening will get mad at me for saying this, but Triple X also made enough from Jackson Park and Relay Cross to help cover the cost of putting on that event.
Sure.
So it wasn't like individual people like just dishing out cash to do it. But yes, that event definitely lost money as a whole, and it definitely put the club as a whole like closer to zero than it was saving money and making money. But yeah, no, that event, to my knowledge, lost money every year.
Yeah.
So I have a question then, because to the best of my knowledge, ABD is putting on still a lot of events through ABR. They're not USAC events. But they get. I mean, they're pretty small events, small attended, but they still have to pay for permits. They still have to like pay for venues. You know, they still have to pay for whatever the road closures and porta potties, and so they still have expenses. But somehow they're justifying it in some way, shape, or form, and I don't know anything about any of that. I don't know if you do, Rob, but it's like
I don't.
Is it
not the
specifics. Are we at a point where we just need to say, you know what, we just need to go find abandoned industrial parks where there's no people, where we don't have to worry about paying police to close intersections, and we can get away with like 1 or 2 porta potties or something? I mean, just make it really ridiculously cheap in venues that are really uninspiring to race bikes on, but they're cheap because it's what we can do.
What needs to happen is somebody needs to step up. That's for sure. It's easier to put on a criterion if you're going to a location like what you're saying, where you have limited access. You're not going to impede on a lot of people. I mean, who can say no at that point? Especially if you're going to pay something to use a venue. But I got an email the other day from somebody that was like, "Hey, I've heard that there's a few races that have disappeared. Can you give me the names? Because I've got like 4 or something. Can we, I was thinking about talking somebody into trying to resurrect those, because I'm sure it's easier to resurrect them than it is to start over." And I had to say, I actually was like, hey, I got a list of about 40 races that used to exist in our area that no longer exist for one reason or another. And then I listed out all the reasons, the major reasons why they don't exist anymore: expense, lack of volunteers to help carry it off, and declining ridership or interest.
Lack of community support.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, but how many races come back once they stop?
Few to none.
Like it's so much easier to put on a race that's been put on a year before, especially if it's been put on for several years before, and you're just repeating a process.
Yeah,
than it
because
is to
people
get
are
a new
used
venue.
to it, right?
Yeah, well, not just that, but like even like Rob, you mentioned cost. Like cost of racing has gone up. It's gone up from the promoter side substantially for sure. But if you try to make a new venue, you try to jump into a new race, like the answer you get when you want to do that is like, it's almost indefinitely no.
Yeah.
It's no, unless you convince them it could potentially be okay. When we were looking for Lincoln Park Crit and LaBaugh Woods, when I was on Triple X, like there were other venues we explored and just got hard nose instantly.
Yeah.
There's a great county park not far from there that I thought would make an awesome criterium or circuit race venue, and the person in charge of that just flat out said, "No, we don't need more bicycles in that place." Like they were just like legitimately hostile towards me when I asked them about it. So
yeah, we lost our one venue in Dundee where we had the shop, and it was a combination of factors, but the police chief there was just flat out like, no, we don't want this around. It's not worth our time. They have no problem chasing drunks through the town every day of every week, but the bars pay all the bills in the town, so why not?
I think that's a really tough thing about. Yeah, that's a tough thing about racing, is that it takes one person to shut one down, but it takes 20 to 40 people to put one on.
Yes, for sure. So like our example, we went to an existing venue, a place that races had occurred at in the past, many years ago, like long before I had moved here, back in the late 80s, actually. And it was a venue that people talk about. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go try it out. We talked to a bunch of people in the area that are all cyclists, and all of them were like, yeah, that's a great venue. It's a great place. It should be easy because they're not very busy. And, they would love to have people come into that area. These are people that live near the course. And I sent a thing down, and it was like, no, we use that as a cut through for traffic. We wouldn't have enough cops on our payroll anymore to cover something like that. It was like 12 points of like, no, absolutely not. Hell no. No, when hell freezes over, not even then. And it was just like, but it was weird because it started out framing it like, oh, hey, it's great. I'd love to see some community involvement. It'd be fun to have an event like this in town, but hell no way in hell. It's so, and if this was me 10 years ago, I would have fought it or at least gotten more involved and said, hey, can I address your concerns? Let's go out there. Let's go take a look. And you and I talk together, that kind of thing. At this point, I'm kind of over fighting it. It's like, I know exactly what's going to happen. And if they aren't like, oh my God, this is a great idea from minute one, it's going to be an uphill battle until it gets thrown in my face. So
do these people understand, the benefits that it brings to the community?
What benefits?
Well, there's a number of different benefits. I mean, if you're talking about the town, maybe not so much depending on where their location is, but for the community of people that race bikes, and you show them the ROI of like, okay, it brings in X, does this, does that. Maybe it doesn't do any of that, but the ROI could simply be like, okay, we have full coverage for this, this, and this. Like why would we not do this? Why can't we do this? Like when they say hard no, do you have any opportunity?
They have a list of reasons. And
it probably has to do with all litigation. It probably has to do with
no
potential.
No, it's inconvenience to the residents.
Inconvenience to the residents.
No matter how many people you say are going to frequent local businesses, all of that goes out the window the minute one person has to go on a 1 mile detour to not cut through the town the way they wanted to cut through the town. People get so angry when roads are closed, they get irrationally angry when roads are closed. And we have to close roads for these races, especially for criteriums, less so for road races. But when you close roads, people will get angry. Somebody will get mad every single time you close a road. And sometimes if you do it for more than 1 year, that person holds a grudge and they will try to stop you from doing it again.
Oh yeah. When we were doing our Elgin race for many years, we had somebody that lived in the center of the course that would write me a tirade email every year that was like, how dare you? What gives you the right to make me a prisoner in my own home? Every year you do this, and this is America, and I have paid for my property, and I should be able to have free access to it whenever I want. And it's like, you can only address that to an extent where you're sitting there going, I understand what you're saying, but you're not a prisoner. Here's a concept. You could actually walk down the sidewalk and across the race course and have access to your car all day long and go wherever you want to be. But walking 10 or 15 feet is akin to being a prisoner in your own home. That is the mentality. And you can sit there and be like, well, the city has approved it. Well, I'll see about that. I'm going to go take it up with City Hall,
Yeah. So then they go down there and bitch. Yeah.
And I had people, special events, a person that ran it for Elgin came out to me at one point and was just like, oh, it's whatever his name is, whatever, I don't care. You shouldn't care. I don't care. You don't care. It's like, okay, but when you leave, or if they call the wrong person, all this ends. And everything that I have to put into motion all these months before the event is basically wasted. So I've put on over 30 some odd races, 35, 36 races. I don't want to say I'm done. I'm definitely not done, but I'm not going to fight like I did for sure.
Especially when you make no money doing it.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah.
I was just taking a look at, we were talking earlier about how do you find out about races, and I just happened to look at Bike Reg. That's where I used to go. And there's a whole host of races throughout the country. Nothing, there's all kinds of different races, right? But like April's pretty full, May's pretty full, so they do happen, right? It's not non-existent, but we have lost races, especially in areas that used to be prominent for racing.
Yeah.
Right. So
we have the Illinois Cup this year, and 3/4 of it is races that are not in Illinois. They're in Wisconsin, Iowa, and St. Louis, right across the border. So it's, we've only got a couple races in the state this year. And this all ignores the big events. We have the Intelligentsia Cup, great series, professional, high-end races, lots of people, lots of excitement, and tons of racing over a week and a half long period. Cool.
It's funny. The guy who runs Boulder Roubaix behind me here, he has the same situation with homeowners on course, and he drops off letters way ahead of the race. He has to do it every other year because of this same problem. And he's gone as far as getting CU Cycling to drop off different, last year, Wholesome. It's called, I'm going to totally screw it up to say on there. The Wholesome Master Racing Team, but they have a product. They have a couple different healthy muffin mixes, and he dropped off he had the sponsor give enough muffin mixes to drop off at every single household across the entire course, which is like 1,100 homes or something. So he dropped off 1,100 product, pieces of product, so that one, people could get taste the product and see the sponsor, and two, to try to acquiesce, and create the peace and create some sort of kindness to the other riders, racing on the course for that day, and I mean, he's tried this would be a great guy to have on the podcast too. I mean, as a race promoter, but same deal. And that's in Boulder,
Yeah. I mean, it can definitely be done. And I know we have done a lot of things. We had to go around and put out flyers every year and to every single house in Fox River Grove.
Which makes sense. There. That makes a lot of sense. You got to communicate in some capacity.
We explain everything, like what the race is, what to do, what to expect.
How do you get out if you have to get out?
Yeah. And a number you can call with questions and all sorts of things like that. And while we're walking around, I know we took a break during the pandemic. And then when we went last year to walk around and hand out the flyers, I had tons of residents come out and go, "Oh my God, is the race back? That's great. Oh, I love it. I've missed it. It'll be so nice to see everybody come back." And you get a lot of that. There are a lot of people that really do like it.
Yeah. It's one or two people.
It only takes one or two people to be an asshole. It only takes one or two people to decide that they don't care. They paid for these roads. They're going to back their car out of their house and drive right down the center of the course while the race is happening. They do not care. And that mentality in this country is getting worse and worse and worse. Mm-hmm. There's just no level of respect for your fellow citizens or other people in the area, but whatever. I'm not going to hit on politics or anything, but it's weird. It's different. So, that's why gravel is getting what it is. That's why the events are as popular as they are. It's a little bit easier to run something in God's country where there's 5 people living there and deal with the 5
and the
farmers,
roads are open. Open roads.
So I have a question. What are venues that you've been at, races you've been at, where you felt like there was good community participation?
Elmhurst.
Elmhurst. One that comes to mind for me was actually
Glencoe
in the Gateway Cup in St. Louis. I think it was called Gio de Montaigne or whatever. There's a little Italy town in St. Louis. There's one of the stops on that criterium is up one hill and down the same hill again and again.
Yeah.
But the community seemed like it really got behind that event.
I'm sure that there's probably 1 or 2 people on that course that get pissed off and write nasty grams every single year. Even there, I mean, I don't know, but
probably. But they also had a street festival, and it was a party. The whole thing felt like a party. So I'm curious, I don't know, maybe it is like Mike said, maybe it's worth talking to some of these promoters. What are they doing different that they have such engagement in their communities?
Well, it's in my opinion, it's a couple key factors, and it's a difference in fundamental philosophy. And I have the grassroots race philosophy. Those promoters tend to have I want to have a big party, a big event. This is the only thing that I'm doing. We're going to have a team, a committee working on this. Let's turn this into a destination kind of thing. It's a high-level event versus a grassroots event. At a grassroots event level, I'm trying to get in and out while bothering the fewest number of people and giving a good race and course to people and making it safe. I have never, and it's my own fault. I've never gone into it going, I want to turn this into some huge race with a big prize purse and tons of things. No, I want it to be a good crit that people enjoy doing, and I want to get in there and out of there and not make it a total mess for everybody. To my own fault. But if I add like a block party to it, a great way of explaining it is the guys that help put on the Elgin race that's a part of the Intelligentsia Cup. One of them came and talked to me at one point, and I mentioned that I had races in Elgin, and he was like, "Oh, well, you didn't have any beer, and it's not a race if you don't have beer." And it's like, what a weird way of looking at it, but I guess I get it. To them, it's not a real production unless you have a beer garden, which means you got to have the cops involved, which means you got to have, sections cordoned off. You have to have a certain number of bathrooms. You got to have the toilets. You got to, trash cans. It increases the level of complexity so much when you get to that point. But to him, that was the whole thing. It's not a real race unless you have a beer and spectators and this and that. Me, I'm like, it's a bunch of masters showing up. No one gives two shits what the masters are doing in a race. The masters don't even give two shits what they're doing. They want to show up. They want to do their warm-up. They want to find a good place to park that's close to where they have to pick up their numbers. They want to do their warm-up. They want to get out there. They want to race their race, and then they want to get the hell out of Dodge. So to your point, Mike, about, talking to the area, giving them the ROI, there is no ROI. If somebody can actually articulate a legitimate ROI for a bike race in this country, a grassroots level bike race in this country, I am all ears, because the reality is it closes off streets. It makes it harder to do business in that area during that, whenever it's closed. And the people that come in that are cyclists don't want to eat the food of the people that are around there. They don't want to go and visit the shops around there. I've said many times that we always make it a point personally in our family to eat there and to go around and shop in the community. But we're one family, And I anytime I see any projections or a model from anybody that says how many people they're bringing into town or this or that, it just, I don't know. It gives me that queasy feeling.
Yeah,
it's just
it's not even, sorry. I mean, it's not even just about bringing people in from the racers. It's getting, like Bill was saying, people from the town into town to watch the event. Get people to come in and spend some money. Get people to come in and enjoy the music or whatever it is.
You gotta have music and you gotta have beer.
There's a number of different races that had that I raced at that were awesome. North Star Grand Prix, which used to be Nature Valley, the Hyde Park Grand Prix was packed full of people, like 5 people deep in some of the areas. It was sick. But they had all kinds of other venues and companies and, vendors in town to make it more of a festival. And the bike race was, what it was the main event, but there was all these other activities for the families to partake in.
Yeah. And that's the big difference.
It's a huge undertaking.
I've never had the energy or the manpower to take all of that on. And it has to do with the fact that on any given year I was doing 2, 3, 4 races, So it's like, I just never, it's always like, it's the people that aren't a part of the community that aren't having to pack up and go to every single race throughout the entire year and are putting on one event that seem to have the energy and drive to be able to do that. Me, I just get burned out, I think. So if you're the kind of person,
do you think, Rob?
Go ahead.
Did I lost you?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was saying, do you think maybe that's one of the problems we have is we're all thinking too passively and too small. Like most bike races that I've been involved in putting on with, we are all trying to not bother people. Like our whole mission is like, how can we do this as calmly and serenely without interrupting the flow of day-to-day people? But the big events, they are just flat out interrupting everybody's life and proud of it and having a good time doing it.
Maybe.
Like rather than trying to be like passive, like maybe that's one of the things we need to think about with local race promotion is just getting in people's faces and saying, yes, we're going to close the streets and it's going to be awesome. Instead of like, sorry, we have to close the streets.
I think that's a great approach, and I hope to God somebody listening to this is inspired by that idea and thinks to themselves, I love putting on parties. I'm good at this. Let me do it. And if you think that and you're worried about but I don't know the insurance involved with an event or how to get what I have to do to make it a legit race or how to get numbers or how do you get the officials, that crap, I can tell you without a doubt, don't even remotely worry about that. Give me a call. Send me an email, come over. I can do that crap for you. I can teach you how to do that. Everybody here has probably listened to me talk to some promoter. I had some here a couple weeks back where we spent 3-4 hours talking. I will not stop talking. That's my problem with it. So that's the easy stuff. Doing the big stuff, the party, and making it great for everybody. Hey, more kudos to you. Go for it. Go and do it. And that is how you will bring people in.
Do we know any bike racers that are party planners? That's.
I don't.
Chad Hartley would be great at this. He would be awesome at planning a fun venue. I mean, I don't know. I think he would be. There's a lot of other races that have done that whole thing. I mean, Tulsa's another one. I made
this a culture there. Yeah, it's a culture in the community.
Yeah, you have like a whole community behind the event because for whatever reason, what is it that they do differently that attracts the local community to support the event?
To some extent, it always comes down to money. If you want a big spectacle,
I don't know. I disagree.
It's the money.
Cultures don't form in a void.
Correct. Yeah, I agree. But the money can get in the way of building a big event. From the standpoint of every time I've gone and tried to done something a little bit bigger, instantly the bills just start racking up. And I'm just not the kind of person that goes out and tries to sell a bunch of sponsorship on it,
And that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's what they do a lot of. So that they've got the people that are the salespeople that will go cold call and knock on doors and ask for the moon and stars. I got all day long and are okay with 9 times out of 10 flat up rejection straight to their face, and they're okay with it, and they keep rolling and they roll to the next one. It's like you need people like that in a organization.
I said, I know I've said it before, but I got a huge sponsorship package from the Tour of Elk Grove. I know, Mike, you raced there.
That was a sick race. That's another one.
Yeah.
That was a sick race.
And I got the sponsorship package for it because I worked at a factory that was like 20 feet off of the course. And they came in and presented to the factory there. And the budget for that race was something ungodly, like between 150 and 250,000 for that race. And they spent something like 30 to 40,000 just on overtime and wages for the cops and public works for the event. And then all the other stuff that they had involved in it, all the barricades, the fencing, the this, the that, the signage, the this. And it's great. But that's a real budget. That's a house for a lot of people. And you're doing that every year, and you got to come up with that free money, so to speak.
That's what I was saying, man. Like, how come there's not like an investment fund that actually helps fund this stuff, where you pull in this pool of money and make it grow, so you have a pool of money to spread out to help races get established, to help them get off the ground. It's never really been done. I mean, I've never seen that.
Well, we have that with NCL, so they got plenty of money. They did tons of fundraising. They had their first race this last weekend. Mm-hmm. None of us have watched it yet. So I think Tim did. He gave me a little bit of information, but we haven't come back and done a download on that. We will watch it. We will give you our impressions. But so far, everybody that I know that has seen it said it was kind of cool. It was kind of interesting.
I will say this. The team that won, the Denver Disruptors, is what the team they call it. They're kicking ass right now in Redlands. They're winning right now overall Redlands. So the competition is fairly high. Those guys look super fit. I mean, I was looking at a couple of photos, and those guys look super fit. So there's definitely some motivation there.
I do have to say, third place today, Redlands men's side, was Ricky Arnapol.
Wasn't that yesterday?
So, I don't know.
I think it was yesterday's stage. I think it was stage 1. Today's stage. I don't know. Let's see what they are today.
Who knows?
I mean, well, that's the thing. It's like, why isn't cycling news covering Redlands? Redlands has been going on for 37 years. You cannot find it on cycling news. It's not there.
Bill, weren't you saying earlier today you live like 5 miles from Redlands?
Not 5, but it's the closest city to. If you go down the mountain from where I live, it's the first city down the mountain. Yeah. And
the first you heard? Yeah, the first you heard about the event was us talking about it?
Yeah, I've been through there 3 times in the last week, and I had no idea it was happening. And I love cycling, so if I don't know, like, how is any normal person going to know?
That's a common problem. I mean, even with the Pro Challenge here, it was a multi-stage event throughout Colorado, and you never heard about it. I mean, that's another thing. They had to have a huge venue. They had a huge concert venue, huge concert venue, and with a huge headliner is just trying to get people to come in, into the city to watch the racing. And you're right, Bill. Like if the Redlands Classic, if you don't know about it, how are they advertising so that people actually know? Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, the only reason why I knew about the one in Colorado or much about it was because Jamie was the announcer, and at one point he talked to me about being radio tour for it, which I would have loved to do, but couldn't get the time off of work. God, that's when I was actually working a real job instead of the wheel job, which means that was at least over a decade ago. Crazy.
Although I will say also, as far as promoting big races, I think you guys can disagree with me about this, but like I think that having amateur races during the same race actually helps quite a bit for promotion. I talked to Jessica today, and I was like, "Did you know Redlands was this week?" And she's like, the first thing she said is, "Can we race it? Like, is there a race for us,
or a community ride, some other event that brings people in?"
Right.
Well, now you have to add a gravel ride onto it.
Yeah,
that's what a lot of them are doing.
And you're right. It does add a whole other venue. You can't just necessarily ride the course because you have races going on all day, So you have to have a venue that's also accessible and safe, right? The roads have to be safe, and the drivers have to be safe. You have to have a route that's safe to bring people in, so that you're not. I mean, if you want to just race that same course, Bill, like you and your wife were saying, I mean, totally agree. How do you get the average person to come in?
I would agree. Yep. I think that most races need to have amateur races going on as well too. That being said, every huge UCI event that I've gone to that has UCI or amateur racing along with the UCI racing, turnout's horrible. If they have just one big UCI race and that's the only thing going on that day, all those masters racers and everybody else that would have been worried about their warm up and doing their race and leaving, they don't. They actually just come there. They spend the whole day. They visit the food vendors. They hang out and they have a party and enjoy themselves. So that's the feet on the ground at the actual race, But,
wait, so you're saying that those masters racers don't go to those races, or they
no,
do?
They go to the race if it's if there's no amateur racing that day.
Oh, okay.
Like they go to do the amateur racing, but then they leave.
Cyclocross.
Trek Cup is the one example that really sticks out in my mind. The days where they have amateur racing and UCI in the same day, it's a ghost town for the UCI race. And because they have it at the end of the day, everybody else has already raced. They've gone home. They're grabbing dinner, whatever. They showered. They wanted to get to the hotel and get set up, whatever. But on the day where they have only UCI or World Cup events, it's packed. It's shoulder to shoulder, and everyone's staying and watching everything. It's like when they're in town anyway. So the amateur racing brought them into town. I'll give you that.
So on a different day. So you have the amateur racing one day and the pro racing the next. Gotcha.
Yep.
But then when the pro racing happens, they're hanging out, drinking beer and shoulder to shoulder, and who knows, Anyway, we're getting long in the tooth here. We're at an hour and 20 minutes. I apologize. We were going to shoot for 45 minutes to an hour today, right?
Yeah, that was the goal.
Yeah, we shoot for that every week, by the way. So sorry there wasn't an episode last week. Thanks to Riverside FM for totally screwing us over.
I don't know if we can completely blame them.
Oh, I'm definitely blaming them. For last week, I'm definitely blaming them on that one. They kept telling me all week that the episode existed. It just wasn't uploaded. And then they ran a bunch of tests and went, oh, yeah, no, it's not there. So, we had an episode. Oh, well. Going to blame them on that one. Maybe we'll move to another podcasting platform at some point, but it's not in the cards for right now. So with that in mind, if you do like us, smash the like button, hit the subscribers, do all the likes and shares and everything. Your opinions are important to us. Go ahead and leave some comments. Send us some email at roadisdead@gmail.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Road is Dead is the channel. We do have some stickers. We'll eventually get some probably coffee mugs and other things like that, like the one you see here going in the store. We'll get some shirts, get some merch, as the kids call it. So keep your eyes out. If you are interested in something, send me an email, let me know. But apart from that, thank you for joining us, and enjoy the ride.
Catch you later.
Later.